Very nice. Welcome to the Three Grandmas podcast. This is episode 26. Can you believe it? Episode 26.
That's my lucky number. That's awesome.
Is it?
We're still not affiliate,
Actually
which is fucking weird, bro.
Look, we're working on it. We're working
Very
on it.
soon, folks. No, you know what? We have the followers. It's just the amount we stream that has to do. It's a couple more. It's no problem.
I mean, it's the setup of the shows. We do this every week, so we're trying to add another show, the Brave the Cinemas, which we did one episode for.
Yes,
we're trying to work on some other shows as well. But today we are talking about a Korean horror thriller action film called I Saw the Devil, directed by. Do you remember the director's name?
I do remember the director's name because I have it written down here. It was directed by Kim Jee-woon, written by Park Hoon-jung, starring Lee Byung-hun and Chow Min-sik as the super bad guy.
And when did this movie come out?
2010.
This movie, 2010.
2010. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely not updating the info right now. Okay.
So this was none of our choices. We were meant to have a guest today, but that ended up falling through. But we're still going to talk about the film because we watched it.
They ghosted us. They
ghosted us, but that's okay.
Maybe they have it's like, I'd be nice to people. You never know what the problem is.
Never know what's going on.
I know.
I saw the devil. We saw the devil.
We saw. Yeah.
Do we want to talk about what this film's about? It's a bit of a revenge thriller, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is it's about a village of serial killers, from what I can tell. Everyone is serial killing everyone all the time. Everyone has a knife. You get into a cab and there's two serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a restaurant, there's serial killers eating people in the back. It's just like
wild.
It's like
everyone can withstand about 40,000 kilotons of damage before even
they have a lot of XP. They unlock resistance to a lot of
they have all
things.
the HP. Yeah,
the HP levels on these people
it's crazy.
Was insane. I couldn't believe how much some of these people survived.
That cab scene, that was fucking insane. Just
wild.
They should have been dead by now.
The way that scene was shot was like a Saw movie. Have you seen Saw? Like the way
Saw,
they do
Saw,
the 360-degree camera. Yeah. Exactly like that. And it's funny, the end, like the ending is basically a Saw trap. That's no spoilers, but that's why I wrote literally.
It was missing the music.
Are you a Saw fan, Time? Are you a Saw fan?
I've seen like the first two or three. They're okay.
They're okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure
first one
if that would be
for what it was, but after that it was like it's just more like it for me. It turned into like just shock value, Like not really.
The first one was great. I love the first one, but then from that point, they the conceit, the spin. It's just like fan service from that point, and it's cool to watch the little traps and stuff. Like I think that's why people like the.
Oh yeah.
I
heard the newest one was decent, right? Decent? I want to check that one out.
10's pretty decent. And I like Saw 6. Just putting it out there, I like Saw 6. I think Saw 6 does something interesting with its plot that the other ones don't. But I'll leave it at that. The reason why I bring up Saw is because I feel like this movie pushes some of those boundaries pretty close. I'm not sure if it was inspired by it at all, but it does push those sort of visceral boundaries.
The vibe I got was Silence of the Lambs too, because you have this, you have the hunt. It's also a revenge, the pitfalls of revenge movie, which a lot of cinema from Korea is, and it's also a horror movie. I mean, it's like it's violent, terrible. And it's like I love how they keep ratcheting it up. Like just when you think you've seen the most. And they never pull the camera. Like there's just like scenes with young kids and like violent things like you don't want to see, but they just hang in there just to show you how bad the guy is. And then is the guy who's chasing him just as bad for letting it happen? And he's letting him go catch and release.
Yeah, but we
can talk about the plot a little.
But at the same time, it's also a bit of an action film as well. Like there's scenes in this film that could be taken out of not John Wick, but the Raid. Like we watched the Raid recently.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like some of those action scenes, like you could slip into there as well.
The ending when something happens and he pulls his fucking the front door off his car and he does that spin.
Yeah, it's sick.
Insane.
Crazy. It's like
oh, he's gonna run him over. Cool. Nope.
It's something out of a Bruce Willis movie.
Yeah,
like,
that was
actually,
crazy.
Yeah. But what I wanted to say was like the closest thing that this film gets compared to is Old Boy, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen Old Boy.
I have not seen Old Boy.
Of course.
Yeah,
I've seen Old Boy.
It's another.
I think people do that lazily because it's an example of excellence in Korean cinema, and it's a crime film.
Is it the same director,
but it's a revenge film as well. No, it's not the same director.
Not the same director, but you definitely have to see that movie because other than this, I think that and this movie are probably my favorite Korean action movies. If you want to call it crime thrillers.
I'm gonna watch the American version because
I do love a revenge film, especially when they explain to you that it's not good to commit revenge.
Yeah,
right. Because what happens in all these revenge films, they end up flying too close to the sun, and the people they really care about end up getting hurt,
end up dying.
Yeah, because he thinks he's so powerful that he can just manage this fucking tiger that's roaming the land, committing atrocities.
Yeah,
and you can't. And then he's committing atrocities on top of it, so he's just like doubling up.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say like whether I don't want to spoil this film just yet. I feel like we should get to around the halfway point of this podcast before we start talking specifics, because there's a moment in this film where I'm like, how is this film 2 hours and 20 minutes long? I feel like this is the end point, and then he the main character does something. And you're like, oh, wait, this is a completely different film than I thought it was going to be.
Is that the same movie or same moment you're talking about? Or like,
yeah.
Like it's like 45 minutes in, you're like,
well, I mean, which moment? We can't talk about the moment. I mean, people don't know what we're talking about right now.
Oh, we don't have to yet. I don't want to talk about it yet. But
all right, we'll talk about it. All right,
later. But it does make a switch.
The flow was really for a long movie. This movie was really. It flowed really well because you don't know what's happening next, and they kept ratcheting it up, and so you knew it's like a roller coaster that just goes up and up and up and up, and you never know when it's going to peak and then finally like drop in.
And the world opens up as well. Like you meet these other characters that you don't expect.
World building.
It kind of like I know it's probably recency bias, but it reminded me of the Leslie Vernon movie. Where you're just following the one slasher villain, and then it opens up. You meet these other characters in the world that are slasher villains as well.
Yeah,
it kind of reminded me.
It played like comedy though, sometime too, that because it's like you had the police with all the bad haircuts that were trying to stop the special agent from conducting his revenge, and that was funny. And then you have you have this intense situation where this guy's getting captured and released, and then he finally gets in a cab, and it's another intense, violent situation that nobody could see coming. Right?
Yeah.
There was a nice fellow we met in San Diego during TwitchCon. Prag and I. His name was James, and he's a horror fan too. And we talked about the podcast. We're like, we saw this movie and this movie. And he mentioned a movie to me. I forgot what it was. But then I was like, oh,
shout out James.
I'd love to.
We don't take notes, James.
Yeah,
we don't
James. Take notes, No, James is a good dude.
From Cave Dweller Media, right? CaveDwellerMusic.net is a really cool website for underground music that he runs. I like it a lot.
Whatever movie he mentioned, I had seen it. And then I was like, oh, he said horror. Let me go ahead and show my skills as like an indie horror guy. And I was like, there's this movie I watched. I forgot what it's called, but it was Leslie Vernon. But I forgot the fucking movie. But he knew what it was, and I was so excited.
Oh, that's
he's like,
awesome.
Oh, Leslie Vernon. I was like, oh my god, holy shit.
Yeah. Well, you describing the plot to him, like
yeah. I was like, there's a guy. He's a killer.
I didn't like that
documentary.
Movie.
That movie's awesome.
Yeah, I thought
he exists in the universe where all the other killers live, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Leslie Vernon." And I was like, "Yes, that one, yes."
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
It's not a very well known film, so it's kind of good that he picked that up.
Yeah.
Did he know that you were reviewing I Saw the Devil?
I think so. Yeah, I think I told him that. Yeah.
Cool. Because I saw The Devil. That opening sequence is, I mean, it's a revenge thriller, but it's also a horror movie. That opening sequence, where she's waiting for the tow truck, is horrifying. Like
a lot of tension.
Yeah, just the way it's shot. I didn't realize until later, because the opening shot is a windscreen, like it's basically just a windscreen driving through the snow. And I didn't realize until later that that was the yellow van. I thought it was her car until you see the inside of the yellow van later, and you see the wings on the rear view mirror, and you realize, oh, that was his car.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because the way it was cut, it was like the car's driving through the snow, and then it parks, and then it cuts to her inside the car, so it makes you think it's her car.
Right.
Yeah. But then later on, you see the inside of the yellow van that the serial killer uses, and it has the wings on the rear view mirror.
Yeah.
You realize the opening shot was his car.
Oh, okay. You know what? I remember seeing the wings, and I was like, oh, he took that from her, but that makes sense. Okay. I thought he took it from her.
It was his car stalking her. Yeah. And there's a lot of reversals in this film like that, especially the moment we were talking about earlier, where they set up the little, I don't want to say it's a MacGuffin because they're not going for it, but the device, right?
Yeah.
But you don't think on it until he uses it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then it changes the film into something completely different, which I really didn't expect.
Yeah, because they explain what it is, and then he uses it, and then there's just kind of like not a lull, but it's not mentioned, and then the movie just goes on, and then you're like, wait, he's right there again. How does he know? And it's like, oh, that's how he knows. Okay.
Yeah. But it's also like, why did he let him go? And like, there's that whole sequence. Yeah. But I love when they have that standoff, like that initial standoff where you think, not that the movie's wrapping up, but you're questioning, like, how is there more movie after this?
Yeah, that's the moment where I was like, we're 45 minutes in. There's still an hour and 45 minutes. What's going to happen? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the first mistake the serial killer made was like killing the wife of the greatest secret agent in all of Korea. Right? And so that's essentially the conceit of the movie is that, and then now this guy is going to find you. And then I love when he just gets all the usual suspects and he doesn't try to interrogate everyone. He just like starts destroying everyone. Like he breaks someone's back on a motorbike. They have the other guy pleasuring himself he cooks him and it's funny because when they go 1 versus 1, it's no contest. Like when there's a lot of battles between them, and the other guy really fights back, and he's capable, but he just cooks him every time.
Yeah,
and then he sends him back out.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to say, because I watched this film with my mom.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. I watched this.
There were some very uncomfortable scenes in this, like the nurse scene. That was tough to watch for anybody.
The schoolgirl as well. I felt really.
Oh God!
Oh my God! Yeah.
Was he gonna bury her alive?
I don't know.
After he did what he was gonna do.
I felt like he was gonna bury her alive for some reason.
He was gonna marry her first, and then they were gonna have children.
I don't think so.
But what I wanted to say is they don't tell you what his job is at the start at all.
No, they don't.
You find out later that he's a secret agent, right?
Yeah.
Like much later, and it makes you wonder, like, why is he allowed to just walk onto crime scenes? Why are the cops like so chill with this random dude?
It's probably like a composite of a FBI and a CIA agent over there, so it's probably like joint security force type level stuff.
I looked it up. He's a Secret Service agent.
Okay.
But he's essentially James Bond, like in this film.
Because they know who he is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because isn't the police chief, that's his father-in-law, right?
Yeah.
The elderly gentleman, right? And his sister is involved in the end, and that becomes his undoing. He gets, because the bad guy finds out eventually about that.
So this film mostly is about the ruminations on revenge and whether you can take revenge. Like even if this person is just like I mean, the movie's called I Saw the Devil. Like, this guy is literally the devil. He's probably one of the worst villains I've ever seen, I think. Like, he's just despicable. Like, what?
Yeah, he's just horrific.
Horrific.
He's not even like an anti-hero. Like some people can root for some villains, right? Because there's some kernel, like, some people root for the Joker and whatnot, but you can't root for Cha Min-sik in this movie because he's just like does everything bad that you can imagine. And there's like he drives a school bus so he can target school age high school kids, and it's crazy. And then he eats people too, right?
Well, I don't think he does. No, that's his friend.
You don't think he does? Or he just gives it to his buddy? Oh, because they would make him crazy, right? Because his buddy had that thing you get if you eat people. Sometimes you get a parasite or something that can make you mentally ill.
Yeah, and I feel like that guy, like that we meet later, I feel like he says something to that effect. Is like, this is why
right.
you...
Yeah, he's like, you crazy bastard. This is what you get for being a cannibal or something like that.
Well, I mean, the first lady he butchers like he's preparing for meat, right? Because
I don't know.
Yeah, because he parts it out and throws it in the bag, just like a hunter.
But
that's why I'm confused.
But
maybe he sells it. Who the fuck knows?
But he leaves her body in the like, this is the opening of the scene.
It's her head, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but he has that box with the bag in it, and he's like throwing something in there, like maybe just the guts or like the sweetmeats. I don't know.
The way I understood it was like they found her ear as well, so her head and her ear.
Oh, that's
so
right.
That makes me think they found the rest of her body. Like, they cremated her. So, I don't know if they just cremated her head, but like they had
because he was. Didn't he like have her halved? I remember in the beginning she was cut in two, or maybe that was the second victim. I don't know.
He cut her to pieces. He cut her completely to pieces.
He initially had her just like sprawled out though, or just laying there, and then he cut her arm off.
And it's not like one of those movies where they just put like some chlorophyll over your over your face and abduct you. No, he's like bashing them with a hammer, and they show every blow. And it looks very real because he's like missing, and it's very terrifying movie.
Yeah. I wanna ask you guys before we move on, because I do want to talk about stuff that I'm like, just stuff about this movie, because I want to know, did you guys like this movie?
I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, good. Time, did you like this movie?
I didn't. I thought it was too long, and I thought it was too much at times.
I'm on the same train as you.
Okay, but I mean, it's a good movie. I just think it was. I mean, I understand what they're doing, the whole thing, but it seemed like it was like just doing it. Yeah, just excessive, just showing too much.
Yeah, I agree. I like this movie. I think it's incredibly well shot. I think it's incredibly
the action
well
scenes are amazing.
Oh my god, yeah. I think thematically it gets very murky, and I'm not entirely convinced of its message. I'm not entirely convinced of it. Like, it doesn't feel like the director is convinced of his own message. I feel like, because there's sections of this film where, like, the amount of times where the main villain he's doing like the worst things ever, and our lead character knows about it. But knows about it and comes in far too late. You know what I mean? Before
absolutely. The nurse gets raped, or pretty much, and then it finally and then he makes her patch up the guy after he cooks him. And then so doubly victimizing. So I think the message that vengeance turns you into the evil that you're trying to stop. And slowly over the film goes, not only does his father-in-law end up dead, but also he changes his values, and he totally contradicts what he's supposed to be opposed to.
But my problem is that it starts off. It's too early for me for something like that, because I feel like, in this situation, his wife has been brutally dismembered, and like, even if he's on a quest for revenge, right? I just don't buy that he wouldn't give a shit. You know what I mean? About a situation. I don't buy that immediately.
Blinded by rage.
Yeah, but I don't buy that he'd immediately let it happen because he's just blinded by rage. Like it feels too. I feel like later on, if he starts losing himself, like maybe maybe if the film had a reason for him to allow something like that to happen for whatever reason, like the police needed evidence or they needed something like that. But in the situation where we're talking about the hospital scene, I just don't see why he would let it happen. I don't get it. Like, I feel like
because
the
it
only
turned him
reason
so dark.
because that quickly. Like, I feel like
well,
there's
no, I
not
mean, it wasn't
enough.
quickly. I mean, the movie's 2.5 hours. I think that was like 90 minutes in that scene occurred.
Yeah, but it happened pretty much as soon as he started his revenge.
Oh yeah, as soon as he went after those guys, who he wasn't sure if any one of them were the actual killer, and he started essentially. It's just like it could be a cultural differential, but obviously he was very much in love with his wife, and I could see a scenario where I got really, really angry if somebody did that to my wife, and if I had the capacity to do something about it, I don't know, maybe, probably
But that's
not.
what
Though.
I mean. He didn't see his wife in the women that the serial killer. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
he's not really a hero, right? He's not really a hero in this. There's
no,
really
but
are no heroes in this movie except for the sister-in-law. Is probably the only hero because she's always telling him on the phone, stop. And she's like the only pure person in this film because it's just everybody's a killer. The protege of the serial killer who's eating people and his girlfriend, and then the guys at the cab and the police detectives who are incompetent. It's just villain.
So
and then a pure person who's not even really a hero. So.
When I was thinking about this movie, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jason.
Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
When I was thinking about this movie later, after watching it, a couple hours had passed. One of the things that bothered me, pretty much what you said, but also, I'm thinking like this dude is just letting this guy go constantly, and he's just putting more and more people at risk.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like thought about it more, and I kind of read some stuff. And then I kind of just realized, like, you're so conditioned to watch certain movies where it's pretty black and white, where like this guy's a hero, this guy's a villain, or this guy's just a villain, he has to be stopped. That this is like real life, to where it's like this dude is just blinded by just hate and revenge. They just keep going, and it is a little. I mean, it's all unreal, obviously, but it is a little. It gets a little too crazy because of the whole tracker and all that shit.
I mean, it's like it's in many ways it's like Korean Batman, except super violent, right?
Yeah.
The same darkness descended on Batman.
In fact, it feels like an anti-Batman. It feels like I get what it's going for. My issue is that like you can say that he's blinded by rage. But that doesn't logically mean that he'd allow a woman to like.
Well, it's also a movie, and it's like a fable.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a movie.
It's like an Aesop's fable. They're trying to teach you the lesson about vengeance, and they're going to do all kinds of weird things to get there to get you to watch.
But it still needs to be logical. In this sense, it felt like an excuse for the director to see how far he could push it, and. Like that's.
I mean, you see this trope all the time in Japanese and Korean films, though. This is like not a new thing. It's like if you look at so many, and they're all ultra violent too. And I just think it's a different cultural norm. Like they're less acceptable of like gratuitous to sex scenes, but more okay with violence, but different types of violence. And like they'll show blood more, but they won't show certain things. And I don't know. It's just a difference.
I get that. My problem is that I mean I've seen other films like this as well, like Old Boy, where that's an extremely violent film as well. But I felt like the whole time the violence was justified in what the film was trying to say, in what the construct of the film was trying to say, the themes and everything. I felt like it was very consistent. Same with this is. A lot of people might come at me for this one. I've seen a Serbian film. I don't know if anyone's heard of that one.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
I haven't seen it.
It's probably the most, like, it has some of the most harrowing stuff I've seen in a film. but I feel like thematically the film is justified in portraying it. This film, I feel like it doesn't justify it. I feel like the way it feels manipulative. Like the amount of times that there's women in danger in this film, and it gets right to the moment, or they're going overboard, and then he bursts in, and saves them. And I get that it's like that's not meant to be the good thing for him, but it still feels like an excuse to show
Would
it
it made
on screen.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying?
Would it changed if he intervened at the last second?
Yeah,
I don't agree.
I feel like if he'd intervened earlier, it'd be like logically. I feel like the stuff at the start of the film makes a lot of sense. Like because there's no one there to stop him. So you see all the violence that he commits right at the start. We're talking about the wife. But then in a situation where he's in control of the situation, the dramatic construct of the scene is that, oh no, is he going to come in and save her at the right time? Oh no, he's doing all of this stuff. It feels really manipulative to me.
I mean, that's just movies, though, isn't it? Every movie does that.
No, I don't agree.
Okay.
Was he nearby?
I think it goes over the line.
When he was messing with the nurse?
Right. He had the headphones in, and he was listening. Yeah,
but he's it's like a tracker from 2010, so it's not like super accurate. Yeah, I think it's horrific that he allows the person to continue to do what he's doing, because what happens is that eventually the guy figures it out, and that's the explanation of the totality of the audience sees him making the bad decisions over and over again. And at first, maybe they're into it because if somebody killed my wife, then I would kind of do the same thing. But then they see like 2 or 3 scenes later, 2 or 3 catches and release later, he's losing control of the situation, and he doesn't even get it because he's driven by his ego and his maybe he's the type of person who only cares about his wife because it's his thing, and maybe he is a bad person. Maybe he was a bad person before we see him enter the world right before the film starts. We don't know exactly if just because he's in the Secret Service doesn't make him a good guy.
No, I know, right? But the conceit of the film is like revenge will turn you. Revenge will lead you down this road. So the only way that you can have that message is to have the change throughout the film, right? You can't just have it that he's already bad and then he's just bad the whole time, right? It feels like you know what I mean? Like you can't.
I just think you lose control. I think you have something under control. Like your fish, you have a marlin on the fucking line, and you have control. But after time, you're gonna get tired. You don't even realize it, and it slips. And I think that's what they were trying to indicate.
But what I'm saying is that he's too far gone too early in the film. Like I think at that
maybe he was
point,
a bad boy from day one.
But that's what I'm saying is that the message doesn't work if he's a bad boy from day one. Like the idea of the film doesn't work.
The message is that you lose control when you do revenge. Right,
but also that you lose yourself. You lose your soul. But his soul was already gone.
Maybe it was already gone, though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is the message doesn't work at that point. Like,
well, maybe we didn't get the right message. Maybe that's not what the writer wanted to intone. What we're generally saying.
But then I say that that's not a very interesting message. Like, I don't think revenge. You lose control if you're a bad person already, and you might lose control of a situation if you act on revenge. I don't find that a very interesting message. Like, that's not very relatable. It's not very... Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I feel like it doesn't go deep enough in its revenge allegory. In its... Not allegory, but its thematic ideas. I feel like it doesn't go deep enough.
All right.
Or it tries to go deep enough, but it fails in doing so because they have the character make decisions early in the film, like, too early in the film, for there to be a gradual change. Do you get what I'm saying? And I feel like I
think that's a different movie, though. I think that's not the movie this director made.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe he doesn't even think there is a message. Maybe we're just seeing a message where we want there to be one from our perspective, and
But films always have themes, and they always make decisions in the films. For
not all movies have themes.
No, I disagree. I 100%.
Or not the theme that you think it is, or they allow the theme to be like a Rorschach. Where multiple people can see different themes, just like in all art.
Always like emerge, and I'm just saying what this film was saying to me. personally.
Okay.
All right, when I was watching it, and I don't like that. And I'm not saying this film isn't good. Like, I think this film is good. Like, I think it's really well directed. I think it just has some issues that held it back from being like a masterpiece that I'd seen, like Old Boy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah,
feel
I
like Old
understand
Boy
what you're
is
saying. It doesn't mean I
incredibly.
agree.
Yeah, fair enough.
You
Fair
know, I
enough.
mean, we also, it's like, we can talk about the music, we can talk about the cinematography, we can talk about the actors, we can talk about the costumes and the world building, and to belabor the point about, well, I don't think that the message about revenge went over is kind of missing. That's just one facet of a whole, like, if it's like
I'm
saying,
talking
well,
about the
I
whole
don't like the anchor on the ship, so the fucking ship sucks.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this movie's good, but like themes and ideas and messages in films, like I feel like a huge backbone of filmmaking, a huge backbone of storytelling.
Right.
It's like it's a really important part of storytelling. And
I don't have a problem with the narrative. That's why we disagree, because I'm fine with what they were trying to say in the way they were trying to say it. So it's just like, if I don't, I see what you're trying to say, but I just think that they did the right thing with this story.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Okay,
I
well
mean,
then,
I think it starts off.
Agree to disagree.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
And
it's at the end of the day, it's like
of
personal taste at some point when we get to these junctures of narrative. It's like, it was okay for me, it wasn't okay for you. Okay, fine.
But
It was
then
still well written, as the scenes were well written, the story was well paced, the lines the actors performed, the text, all of those things.
I just have issues.
Worked.
That's it. Yeah. I just have issues, and
of course, it's not. It's. I think it's not an Academy Award winning movie. It's a movie that's like a cult classic, and probably not.
Some people would argue it should have been. Some people would argue it should have been.
I mean, what does it get? Like an 80 on Rotten Tomatoes? It's like it's a movie that's considered good, but not like
It was a 4 on Letterboxd.
It was a failure over there, wasn't it, in Korea?
Because they cut it in Korea. They have a censored version that they would only allow played. So then when people saw it on DVD, it got a cult revival. That's when they brought it to the United States is when I saw it.
I don't agree with that. I don't think you should cut a film if this was a director's vision.
Of course not.
Yeah.
No, and then they didn't like all the violence, they didn't like all the things, and so they made a sanitized version of it. Yeah. And it didn't probably play very well because they were just cut away probably, and so you didn't see the things that made you realize how evil the guy was, and all the action. I think this movie was very important. You see the action scenes, and maybe they could have edited it in some ways and pulled away a little bit, but that's kind of like very traditional for Asian extreme cinema, is they don't pull away, like Ichi the Killer, or the one about the blind date. What the fuck was that one? Do you remember that one?
I haven't seen those.
She goes on a blind date with this guy and she just ends up torturing him all night and captures him. It's like they make raw
sushi.
Raw sushi.
What's that? What's that movie called?
It's not the date. It's something. It's
the one she gets the needles and she's like twisted in or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I've never seen that movie. It's fucking weird. I've never seen that movie.
This is where this film goes, in that it's not a Japanese film, but there's maybe 200 films like this, right? So it's part of like
and some of them will do a better job than others at
sure.
And I will.
Well, Old Boy is part of a 3-part trilogy on vengeance, right? There's Lady Vengeance, Old Boy, and then what's the third one?
Vengeance.
Audition. It's Audition.
Audition, right?
Yeah.
Audition. That's the film. Yeah,
right.
that you were talking about. But there's Lady.
There's a lot of meditations on vengeance, and maybe they've been done so many ways that he was trying to find, this particular writer, who was not the same as the director, was trying a different angle to approach it, because the vengeance story has been told billions of times, and maybe he missed the angle or something, but I think that he was just trying to put his own spin on it, and
I get that.
Maybe he didn't pull it off, But
yeah, that's how I feel. But you don't have to agree. You can say that he pulled it off. Absolutely,
and I'm not upset.
Yeah. I mean, that's what this is about. Is we discuss this. And
listen, I love it. It's all good.
So we're past the halfway point. So I want to talk about the turn that this film has, where it changes from just. Because initially the film seems like it's going to be how how is he going to track this guy down? And then he does track him down. So the film starts off, and it's about a secret agent. His wife gets killed by a serial killer, and he's tracking the serial killer down. About 45 minutes into the film, he does it. He finds the serial killer, and you're sitting there as an audience member, like, how do we have another hour and a half to go? And instead of killing him or taking him to the police, he takes a tracking device, he shoves it down his throat, and then he leaves him with like a bunch of money, and just starts following him. Right. That's what this film is actually about, is how far you can take revenge. And I mean, it's I won't disagree that it's an incredibly interesting film, and it takes a turn that I was not expecting, and I don't think Time was expecting either. Like, I feel like
I didn't know anything about this movie, so when that moment hit, and I wondered the same thing, like, where are we going from this? And they're just staring at each other, and they have the fight, and I'm like, are they just gonna fight for an hour? Like, this is like, what's going on? And then he makes him swallow the pill, then he wakes up, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know, whatever.
He gets into a taxi. And that's the other thing that Pragpro was talking about, the world building in this film, is this town is serial killerville. Like, it's just filled with serial killers. He gets into a taxi, and he's talking to these guys. He's like, what was he saying? It's like, you're lucky that you found a taxi in this weather. Like, you're so lucky you found a taxi. And obviously, like, these guys trying to trip him out. And
there's also a lot of people like standing outside in the fucking cold with no bus on the route, like waiting to be picked up too.
Yeah,
and he picks up, and the taxi driver's like trying to be over nice, and there's just like this creepy guy in the back seat. And
maybe I'm the dumb, and I don't know how to watch movies, but I thought the guy in the back was trying to kill the taxi driver at first.
Maybe. Oh, really?
That's what I thought. And then when he was like, well, it's your unlucky day, and I'm like, oh, so they're all gonna fight? And then and it further made me think, oh, he's that they're not together, when he started stabbing the shit out of the fucking driver.
What an amazing scene, though! Inside the car, like they were shooting how the guy maintained staying on the road is a miracle, and like he stabbed him like 300 times with the tiniest, sharpest knife I've ever seen in my life. It looks so cool,
insane,
blood everywhere. What an amazing scene!
Yeah,
just perfectly shot action.
Yeah, and they pull the camera out, right? Like, they pull the camera out, so I don't know how they shot it. Like, they must have had like a black screen behind them, and they just they took the roof off the car and just shot like had a light on top of them and just shot it. But it basically just goes around in a circle around them as he's just like stabbing them over and over and over again. And it's very Saw-esque. Like, it reminded me of those scenes in Saw.
It was cool because the fight scene that happened before that, when he first meets him and he's like, oh shit, where's this gonna go from there, was like a pretty cool fight scene, because the dude that's a killer was like, just big and just like throwing these fucking haymakers and trying to get him, and the secret agent guy just kept like dodging all of them, and he was like walking around pillars so he couldn't get to him, and it was what the fuck?
And there's a moment when the killer like stabs a knife into the wires, and then the lights start flickering. Like, the attention to detail is just awesome in that fight scene.
That was a cool fight. And then you followed up with the fucking awesome taxi cab fight, which was just, it wasn't even a fucking fight. It was just a stabbing.
Did you guys realize that the secret agent in this film also was the new Terminator when they rebooted the Terminator?
Yeah. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Really? Like,
after I think Arnold Schwarzenegger gave the director of this movie like a long-term deal, because there's like a lot of these writers and directors pop up in like since 2010. They didn't succeed very well. They didn't make a lot of great movies together, but I mean, this movie was like a cult hit amongst like the bro crowd, like the John Wick crowd, right?
Yeah.
The people that like accepted that, oh yeah, bro, if somebody killed my wife, I'd fucking do that too, dog. Which I mean, that's who this kind of was written for. You know what I'm saying? It's not for the great deep thinkers like I put the pill right in him, he'd swallow it, and I track him down.
But I don't think that's the director's intention, and the fact that it played to that audience.
How do you know what the director's intention? You have to look up an interview to find out what he said about his intention.
I'm looking at the construct of the film. Like, the way the film plays is a lot more serious than John Wick or any of those films. Like,
really, when they have that second serial killer couple family, and there's a lot of like fucking shenanigans.
Dude, the music in the opening, like, alone is so much more dramatic than anything in John Wick. Or, like, it's clearly trying to be a much more grounded film than one of those.
I don't think so. There's too many serial killers in that town to be grounded. It's kind of like it's still a fantasy movie. John Wick's a fantasy, and this is a fantasy. It's just a darker world. It's just a more sinister fantasy.
This being a very sinister, and it feels more grounded to me. Absolutely, I don't agree with that at all. Like, I thought
it was total camp a lot of the times.
I felt like it's okay.
Because maybe I've seen this movie too much, but when you see it a couple times, you see like the director added a lot of comedy or tried to put comedy in here.
Which I think
and I feel like I think the director was really interested in also make a Tarantino-esque vibe, because there's a lot of scenes that played like Pulp Fiction, like in Spider Caught a Fly, the Ving Rhames scene when the other serial killers capture them, and it very much had a Tarantino vibe in a lot of ways too.
But that final shot of him walking down the road and then breaking down and crying, like, you wouldn't see that in a John Wick film. You wouldn't see that in any of those.
No, I'm saying like the audiences, the people who like John Wick films like this film too, because you can see the corollary. The same audience likes the same things, not because they're the same, but because they go in the same vein.
But I think it's an issue with the film in that it didn't convey its message good enough. Like, if this is what,
not for the general world. I've never heard this argument made before.
You're not listening.
I know what your argument is, but I've never heard anyone make it before about this particular film.
I'm making it right now.
I know, so I'm hearing it for the first time.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm saying is that this film played to that audience, right? And it worked for that audience, okay? Which means the whole idea that revenge is like a folly and you lose control of the situation, and it didn't work for them. It didn't work on them. It did, like, the construct of this film didn't work for them. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean? It didn't work for the audience?
Yeah, it didn't work for that audience.
How do you know what the audience thought?
Well, you're saying that the same people that love John Wick.
I'm just looking at the ratings. I'm looking at the overlap between people who like that film and this film. There's there's a corollary. So it seems like they did like the message.
But that.
No. He's saying because the audience, which was like, I would do the same thing, or like, this and that, whatever. They didn't learn the lesson.
They didn't learn the lesson of the film.
That's why.
Yeah, the film didn't work. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know if they learned the lesson because I haven't interviewed the people who watched the movie. Maybe they did. I mean, that you're taking big, assumptions.
But do you think the message of John Wick was revenge is bad?
What was the message of John Wick? I don't think it had a message. It's like a music video.
I think revenge.
It's like a music video level message.
Is what John Wick is saying, and I watched that film and I go, yeah, it is hitting the nails on that message.
John Wick is a comic book.
I love John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
I love John Wick. I think John Wick is.
But what is the message, though? What is the message for John Wick?
I mean, you should love your family. Like, it's a lot of things, but it's about
Well, I mean, maybe they didn't get the message through there either. Maybe they weren't effective with the metaphor of the parable because maybe there was none.
No,
it's a comic book fantasy.
No, I disagree.
And in many ways, this movie was the same way.
I feel like this film is contradictory while that film is not. I feel like John Wick nails it on all fronts, like with its ideas and the way that I feel like this film doesn't.
Okay.
But again, I think this film is good. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff in this film that I was riveted by a lot of this film. I love the whole sequence in the house with the cannibals.
Oh, that was crazy.
Like, I have so many questions about
shotgun
who was the woman? Like, was that his sister and she was just
just like his girl? I don't know.
I want to marry her for some reason.
I mean, they talked a little bit. They said that they were in a militia together. They were in an anarchist militia at one point. I feel like he was like his protege. like a serial killer
she
understudy, and
like the right type of crazy,
just
The
a
right
crazy
type of
one. They
crazy.
went
Right type of
along
crazy,
with like a Manson family member who's just there and is like looking for the alpha. Who knows?
She didn't seem happy with him eating meat though. Like at that
I
table,
think she was
like,
unhappy that the other guy was like dominating him, like
I
because he
guess so,
backed
yeah.
down because they had this little confrontation, and he like looked down and like made a joke, and then she kind of like smirked and said, "Well, obviously you're not."
I love that guy.
She likes power, obviously, because she's into serial killers. I
He's my
was
favorite
disappointed
character
that she
in the
didn't have
movie.
a bigger role in that fight scene because she just dispatched him real quick. It would have been cool if like she had a more clever weapon or just some.
Yeah.
I feel like
I
she was an interesting character they didn't use very well.
I think this was a little like that's another kind of issue out of this film. I feel like it infantilizes women a little bit, in a way. Like besides the I mean, even the voice of reason, the
Right.
sister-in-law, she just gets dispatched like off screen. Like you see one shot of
they
it.
show like 1 second. That's it. Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know if that's cultural or what. Maybe that's the way they. I don't know.
It's still an
hard
issue
to
with
tell.
the film. It's still an issue.
Well, not
with
if
the
that's the
film.
way it is in Korea, because then
Old
they're just
Boy
showing.
isn't like that. Like
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. And I feel like films like another great film, Parasite. You've all seen Parasite, surely.
Yeah, Parasite.
Have you seen Parasite, Time? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great movie.
Yeah, Parasite has incredible female characters in that film that doesn't infantilize them. Like it isn't an excuse for this film to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this film is definitely broed out for sure. It's definitely like maybe the writer and the director just like that's how they perceive them, and maybe that's
again. It's a good film. Like I think it's really well directed. I think it's really well acted.
I feel like thrillers, especially like action thrillers or horror movies. I think this gets because it doesn't fit quite into horror and it doesn't quite into action thriller. And I think, and if you've never seen Korean cinema or you've never seen Asian cinema and you want a good entry point that'll keep you attention, and you can read there's not a lot of dialogue in this. It's real easy to keep up with. Yeah. It's a good Old Boy and this are great entry points, I think.
Absolutely. Old Boy especially. We should talk about Old Boy.
Old Boy is the best one. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
The American one, yeah.
No, not the Spike Lee one. It's horrific.
Yeah, Spike Lee.
Horrific.
Spike Lee one.
Yeah, especially that one.
But Old Boy is also a lot better than the two sequels to Old Boy, too. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that girl. Yeah. Like, what a woman.
I wanted more. I want to see more of her in this because she's she's acting her nuts off in those scenes, and she looks beautiful but crazy.
Yeah, and then she like knocked him over one time upstairs in that house, and that was it.
And then she just got smacked.
Oh, she was in the hospital too, but that's it. Yeah.
How about the scene when he takes his foot and like puts the knife through and tears to the back of his tendon out? The Achilles scene. And they just don't. They show the whole fucking thing, and then you can feel it. You can feel it.
I think sometimes it's justified, other times it's excessive. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we can go.
How about when he puts the knife through the thing, and then the knife handle falls off? That's comedy, right? The knife hand. He's trying to pull the thing, and then the handle comes off. And then slides his hand up, right? Because what do they show you? Because they want you to feel it. They want you to feel the emotion of at the same time, and they feel like pulling away would like take you out of that emotion. So they do, and then you can always just close your eyes, which is what
I think there's a lot of times.
I've seen this movie 5 times. I've never seen the tendon scene because I can't. I don't.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't like to handle.
There was that 2-minute shot in the house at the very end of that scene where he has that stick. And he's got the main guy, and he's just beating the shit out of him for 2 straight minutes.
And he breaks it. He breaks it off on him.
I don't know if someone can like handle that many shots. He's just beating the fuck out of him.
Yeah,
it was just like an aluminum harpoon or something. Yeah. I don't know why they have that. I love that how that serial killer house had like a commercial kitchen ready to go to. It's like it's just interesting. It's so interesting, the sets and the scenes and the scenarios, and they filmed it in like winter, which is a different vibe.
And then towards the very end, when the guy he gets the tracker out of him, which was fucking gross, by the way.
Oh my god! Yeah,
and then they show him picking through the poop too. That was gross. In America, they would have pulled away from that.
Yeah, no, he goes. So that's gross. He goes through that, and then he puts it in someone else's mouth, which is also gross.
Yeah.
And then he goes to his friend, and he's like, or the cannibal guy, and he goes, where might our friend be? And then he gets the information, and then he's like, why are you smiling? And he puts his fucking hands in his mouth and starts pulling his mouth apart.
Oh yeah. He pulled his whole mouth apart. How about the scene with the doctor when the doctor's trying to tell him like, whatever, and then he just like he suddenly like turns on him and he's like, give me your glasses, and then that was an amazing scene from like acting wise, because it's like the doctor doesn't expect that, and it's such a horrible thing to everything in Asian culture that you're not supposed to do. Be mean to old people, be mean to women, like all it's just one taboo after another that this guy breaks, that they're showing you, that's how they illustrate how evil is, the taboo. And there's no taboos for this guy.
There's a moment when I thought that the film was going to show some restraint and have the old guy be beaten up off screen, because they show him already on the floor, and it makes you think the serial killer's already done all the damage that he's going to do. You're like, but then he goes back to him and just starts beating the shit out of him again.
More taboo, right?
And then the sister-in-law,
but they don't show her getting killed though.
No, they don't.
That's the one time they pull away, which is like
at the
because
end,
she represents the purity of the thing, and that's just like the one thing he won't show. But the guy's just covered in blood, so you can only. And I think he wants the audience to imagine, and that would be more terrible than him showing, because he's already shown everything he can show. So maybe that's why he doesn't show the sister-in-law.
But the sister-in-law showing up at the house, like it just felt so. Like it made me roll my eyes. Like it made me go,
that's when people come home at 4:30, right? It's after school, after work, and so why wouldn't she be coming home?
So that's where she lives. Same thought. I had the same exact thought when he gets to the house and he's looking around, and it's before they revealed. No, it's before they revealed that the old man was already fucked up and they beat him up, whatever, or he beat him up. I thought to myself, this little thought. I go, well, what if he just showed up and they just like went out to dinner and they just didn't show up? It's just like they went to dinner, so they never showed up. So then the secret agent shows up and they have a whole fight. It's like, what if this one time it wasn't convenient that they were there at the exact time that the killer got there?
They don't go out to dinner. He's so old. They just eat at home. Come on, you know that. She was volunteering at the hospital
really
all day.
Like, I agree with you, Time, and I'm saying that's
this manipulative line that you keep using. It's a film. It's all manipulated. Everything is manipulated. There's the lighting is fake. The fucking scenes are the staged room. It's all manipulated.
That's a no for me, dog.
It doesn't feel natural, is what I'm saying. It doesn't feel like. I feel like
neither does Dress to Kill by Brian De Palma. Does Dress to Kill feel natural?
I haven't watched Dress to Kill, but at the same time,
I'm just saying, it's movies.
Like
Alfred Hitchcock, Vertigo. Does that seem natural?
I think in the way that the film plays out, yes, it doesn't feel constructed. No,
like Psycho doesn't feel constructed.
No, I feel like that film plays out very naturally.
Okay,
absolutely.
It seems very. It doesn't seem that way to me.
I don't think this film.
I think
like
I know you don't. I already got that.
Even then, I still like this film, but like there's moments.
I know you just have one hang up, which is happens. That's fine.
The film opens, and
I had the thing. Listen,
I couldn't believe that the detectives put.
It's crazy. If you give Leslie Tanner a better review, or Leslie Visser a better review than this film, I think you're missing something.
I might.
Because something so contrived as that movie, right? The Leslie Vernon movie.
The fucking scene,
and so poorly.
Yeah, the scene. The film opens, and they put the head in the box, and they trip, and the head falls out.
Yeah, that's comedy. I told you there's comedy in this fucking movie.
Not comedy.
They were
yes, it was. They did it on purpose. It's written into the script.
That scene was not constructed for comedy. Like that scene was
ridiculous. That scene was so stupid.
Part of it. That's why you don't get this movie, guy.
No.
That's the problem.
That is not what that scene was going for at all.
What it was.
The guy's running
dark comedy
of a severed human head that they're all looking for some reason. And he's running. Then he drops it, and people are taking pictures. So
they want to make you feel uncomfortable as possible.
Stupid.
Did you hear a slide whistle in that scene? No, that film is played for.
You don't have to have a slide whistle in a dark comedy.
This isn't just for laughs. For gags.
I mean,
there's a camera right over there, JC.
Right there. The camera right there.
No, he doesn't know that. He wasn't at TwitchCon. He doesn't know that one.
Know what, yeah.
So
there are moments of levity in this film, but this film is a drama through and through. It is not a horror comedy. If you think this film is a horror comedy,
all the cops with the bad haircuts running in tandem is obviously comedy. The knife scene where the knife handle falls off the knife, and he does a fucking spit take to the camera. There's multiple moments. You have to watch the movie more than once.
In a drama film, it is not a.
It's not levity. It's just like cynical, dark comedy, like a Tarantino film is comedy. Even in most horrific, bloody scenes in Tarantino, there's always fucking comedy, even in the most bloody scenes.
But the comedy fits the moment. Film. This didn't fit. Yes.
No, it was a dramatic.
It was so out of place. It was so weird.
Too bad.
Yeah.
I can't take it out. Too bad.
It's not for you.
He knows I'm right.
That's for the third viewer. That's for the fourth. No, I don't. I think you're Foucault's right now. I think you're Foucault.
JC's right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It didn't fit. It made no sense to have that. It was such a weird thing to do.
Why don't you find out why the director put that in the scene though? Because I'm sure there's interviews where he talks about it.
Maybe he did, but I've only got the film to judge, and I've got the construct of the film, the framing device of the film, and then the way that it conveys.
I'm glad you brought that up. I completely forgot about that scene.
Yeah, I'm glad I did. That was.
It was so purposely done that it wasn't like a second thought.
For what reason? It wasn't comedy.
Explain to me.
Explain the reason. It's meant to be dramatic.
To illustrate the incompetence of the police, this is why the Secret Service guy felt he has to go after him because he felt they're incompetent.
He was
all through the movie, the cops are acting incompetent.
Yeah, hold on.
I don't think you guys. All right, go ahead.
And
I'm holding on.
And I agree with that.
Sense.
I think
the guy was there. Yeah.
No. But I do agree that it, like the part of what this film is saying is
this is no Tron legacy. I know, but try to be patient with the filmmaker.
Why are you attacking us?
It's not Pirates of the Caribbean 3, but try to be patient with the director.
I'm meeting the director where he's at, and I don't think he stands up. But what I wanted to say,
the director won't consider you a peer, so I don't think he cares.
Let me say something.
Right?
Let me say something.
He's gonna say, JC, it's better than the movie you didn't direct, right?
Let me say something.
It's not better than Benches.
Benches was fire.
It's not better than Benches.
I would love to see Benches come back as a YouTube serial.
Bench Boys. It's called the Bench Boys. Get it right.
Fucking love it.
Thank you. I'm glad
Benches is a sick title. How about Bench Boys 2 Benches?
But I wanted to say,
is it almost time to play fucking Texas Chainsaw? This review has been so traumatic. This is almost as bad as Grizzly Man. I mean, I wake up screaming here, thinking about the Grizzly Man review.
Because the whole idea.
Restate your case a third time. Go ahead.
No. I'm saying a different case now. I'm glad you brought up the incompetence of the police because I think that's a big part of the film. I think it's a really
look at their haircuts, man. It's like everyone has cool haircuts except for the police. It's obviously a signal, like a red balloon in a Fellini film.
Yeah,
that he's showing. This director also made in 2010 a film about Korean corruption. At the same time, he was writing this screenplay. He wrote that. And
I can another
find that one to you. So he is known for doing these themes like this.
Yeah,
and I'll find the name of that film for you.
But can I finish my point about police incompetence? Like what I wanted to say was I really there's a whole idea that because if the main lead didn't go on this vengeance rampage and find this guy before the police did, and then leave him to continue to his own devices.
Right.
He never would have discovered the other killers, the human, like never would have discovered
I call them the mini bosses.
The mini bosses,
right?
Never would have discovered them.
That's good.
Like the police would have had no idea.
I'm going to throw you a bone here.
Let me finish. Let me finish my thought.
I thought you were finished. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not finished my thought.
I'm sorry.
So he leads him to that house, which shows another level incompetence of the police. The police never would have found that if he didn't go on this vengeance tour, which I think adds another depth to this film. Like I think there is a tug and pull. Like that is a good thing that he like the film is trying to say that that's a good part of the revenge. Like it's obviously grey, like his revenge mission, but that's a good part of the film. But ultimately, the main message is that you probably still shouldn't do it, right? right? But
I think
it still
one of the
exposes the incompetency of the police. And it's also the moment at the end when they're standing in front of the house and they're like what the fuck? What? Look at what you've done.
They're trying to stop him, and he just rolls right through them all.
Yeah, and then they just say, "Okay, stand aside," like completely incompetent.
Right. So I have 2 points to both enforce your opinion on this, because Kill Bill Volume 2 is much more fulfilling because she goes through all the mini bosses to get to the final boss, and so in so doing, she doesn't get anyone else harmed during it. And in this way, it's just like boss on boss violence. So in many ways, that's why probably part of it, right? But there's some mini bosses scattered through this map. But this writer also made a film called The Unjust in 2010, which is about how corrupt the police and everything were and the politicians. And so obviously the director picked this writer for a particular reason, and that's woven into it. So yeah, I agree with you.
I'm glad. Yeah, that's a part that I think is really strong in this film. Is there's a tug of war. Like, I feel like this film is a tug of war of whether vengeance is worth it or not, or whether it's justified, or whether it and going to this length of. I feel like there's a tug of war. Like, it starts off and you're like, okay, this is not worth it. He lets the woman get raped by.
I think the guy really thinks that he's going to get away with it if he doesn't go after him. Yeah. But you should just. I think everyone agrees by the end of the film that when you got him the first time in the greenhouse, when he's like, "Gonna bury the young girl," just kill him there.
Yeah,
but
kill him there.
But it's not a movie then, right? It's not. It's not that. It's not a hunter becomes the hunted movie, because it's really a hunt movie, really.
Yeah.
It's
interesting.
Yeah, it's like one of these movies, like when they hunt a lion in what was that? The Shadow, the Ghost in the Darkness. Have you ever seen that Val Kilmer movie about where he's hunting a lion? It's a very similar type of vein. It's like a big hunt film, right? Where he's got very dangerous prey, and then all of a sudden they're kind of equals, but then he plays it too loose, and
absolutely. Just wondering, we're live, right?
Yeah, we're live. I'm watching us live.
Cool.
I'm watching us live. We're good.
Good. Yeah. So
Dark BMXers is here. Hello, Dark BMXers. How was your trip? Are you home in Auckland yet?
This plane didn't crash.
I feel like me and Prag did a lot of arguing then, and I just want to give time. Time to just
please, time. Tell us more what you feel about this movie.
Where are you? Yeah, where are you?
As soon as you say something I don't disagree with, I'm going to jump you. Go ahead and say something.
Are you
fucking waiting for you to say something about this movie I don't like?
Because I feel like
that's not how I feel, man.
Because I read a lot of reviews. I read a lot of reviews for this film, and I feel like a lot of them didn't.
You did?
Just feel like they just scraped the surface of what this film is going for, and why to me it doesn't work. But I get it. I get it. Where are you on this time? Do you feel like you're on my camp, or you feel like...
Oh, God, this is why he wants to hear from you, because he wants you to agree with him. It's so... Talk about manipulative. This is manipulative on Three Grandmas. This is what we were talking about before.
I want to know. I genuinely want to know how he felt.
I'm just teasing you.
Yeah.
If you agree with me, you get some ice
If you don't agree with me, we're never going to San Diego again. So,
but I don't want him to say he agrees with me. I want to say where he stands.
I'm just teasing. Like, I'm just joking.
On the spectrum of...
Yeah, what do you think about it, my guy?
I'm not on the spectrum. What the fuck?
That's not what I meant.
Yeah, you can't put...
You can say that. You can say that. That's problematic. Can't be saying that.
Okay.
Meow, meow, meow.
I mean, I think I lean more towards your side. Maybe not so much as far as as that people didn't learn, or that the people that glorify this movie didn't learn the lesson from it, which I think is what you're saying. I don't know if I go that far.
Who the people who glorify it is first, and then how do we know what lessons they know, and how do we know these things?
Because you literally said that fans of
you're just like making a deduction.
You did say that. You did say that.
Sherlock, you're deducing too hard, Sherlock.
You literally said like the bros out here, like, oh,
I said maybe. I said maybe that's one of the reasons why. Maybe because I noticed when I watched on Amazon, the first film I recommended after this was John Wick. And so I said, well, maybe that's
And
why. I don't know. I'm just because I'd have to get a focus group together before I make that,
I've read
intuition.
a lot of reviews of this film before I came on.
But you're not supposed to read the reviews before your review on the show. You know that, because it's going to color your opinion.
No, I'm not. No, I'm allowed to see what audiences thought about this film.
I didn't say you're not allowed. I just said you're not supposed to.
Before I made this review, before we started talking, after I'd seen. Yeah. I didn't read anything before I saw the film. But yeah. I mean, so I had my thoughts, and then I wanted to see how other people felt about it.
Did anyone else talk about the vengeance through line?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did people talk about it?
But there was a lot of reviews which was like, "This film's fucking awesome. Let's go."
What did Roger Ebert say? Did Roger Ebert review this?
Well, he was dead.
Was he alive at this point?
I don't know. I feel like he was still alive. I feel like he did review it. He's the guy. If I have time to read one review, I'm going to read him because he's the GOAT.
But I will say
that doesn't mean he's always right, or he didn't even miss. A lot of people just didn't pick up on this thread.
You did cut time off, so.
I'm sorry. Please continue.
Why wouldn't he? Of course it is.
Please continue.
No, it's over now.
Okay.
No. Yeah. I also read some reviews, and yeah, I mean, everyone says it's great. There were a couple that I read that kind of said the same thing that I felt, as far as like it was just too over the top sometimes. But I don't know how you solve that. I don't know if taking out, like, do you take out the nurse scene?
The Korean censorship board thought they solved it, and they just made the movie worse.
Yeah,
right. Because that's what they felt too, and so they edited it.
I think you just need to tighten the script. You need to write it a little differently.
The violence wasn't the problem. I didn't care about that. It was mostly just like after a while, you just kind of became numb to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, and it felt more like an exercise in sadism at some point.
Yeah,
at one point. Yeah. It felt like the director kind of flexing a little bit, just a little.
Do you
bit.
think maybe if they took like the nurse scene and they put that
further later in the film? Maybe.
No. Put it sooner in the movie, so it goes nurse scene, and then he goes to the schoolgirl, and then he gets caught, so it's more closer to halfway.
I think the big problem with that scene is the framing that he knows going on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the big issue. You just write the film a little differently. I think, like, tighten up the script.
The film is fine. It's perfect. Don't rewrite the film or change the fucking scenes. And I mean, what are you guys talking about?
No,
this is a classic. Film.
I'm just saying that, I'm just saying when you work on a film, I would change things about the blueprint. Bench voice is perfect. I wouldn't change that, but I'd change things about the blueprint. Pretty, I have a lot of things I would change about it, and I think that's a good thing. And when we criticize a film, I think it's totally okay to think of a scenario.
Sure, listen. I criticize films every week here. I have no problem with criticizing things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't like Leslie Vernon, and I totally understand where you were coming from.
I don't.
You can't put Leslie Vernon in this movie in the same.
I do. I think it's a better film. Yeah, I think it's a better film than this. Yeah, I think it's better written. I think it's
No, it's just objectively not.
I found it.
I don't know.
Entertaining.
You could probably pull 500 film critics in the country, and not one of them would say that. It's crazy to say.
I guess
it's a made-for-TV movie, isn't it? By Anchor Bay.
And I think they did a great job with it. I think they did a really good job with it. Hoodwinked has some of the worst animation I've ever seen, but the writing in that film is top notch. Have you seen Hoodwinked, the animated film? It's great. It's great. But I'm just providing an example. Like, I feel like the construct of a film, like the way a film looks and everything, is not everything. Like, I feel like
of course
it needs that meat. It needs that meat.
It has it,
and that's why I put some films above others, even if visually this film is like far and above Leslie Vernon. I feel like Leslie Vernon is a better film just because it said more to me. I felt more.
What was the moral of Leslie Vernon?
What's the moral? I don't
I
think
mean,
it was
what did it
going.
tell? What was it trying to tell you? What's the message?
Well,
Because
I
I
don't
didn't
think
get any message from it.
I'd need to watch it again.
It
It's
was a
been a while,
blueprint for him.
but
You just told me it's so much better, and you don't even know what the moral or the
well,
message is. You said all films have a
I
message.
don't. No, I'm saying that I think all films go for something. Like whether it's a message, whether it's a theme. I think
Right?
all
What
films
was Leslie
go for
Werner
something.
going for? I didn't see anything going for anything.
I mean, it was going for a send up of. It was like Cabin in the Woods. It was going for a send up of
Satire.
satire. Yeah, and I think
So
it
what is it saying
succeeded
about this?
amazingly.
What
was
is the subject of the satire? It was not like it should enhance your knowledge of the subject of the satire, right? Because if the subject of the
Well, it was
satire
a
is
loving.
slasher films,
It was loving. Like it was loving. It was a loving, like tribute.
well, I'm just saying sometimes
And I think it
that's okay
succeeded
that a movie
with that.
doesn't have a message. I think sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, and I think sometimes a movie is just like art is just for art's sake. So I don't
Yeah, I
know.
know.
Maybe.
But this film, to me, like you're saying that it might not have been going for something, but I'm watching the film and going, this film is trying to say something. Like, and I don't think it succeeded at it. Like,
Okay.
I'm looking at the film that I've got, and I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
the way that the film's constructed, the way it's framed, and everything, it is trying to do something. It is trying to say something. It is trying to say the things that I think it's trying to say, and I don't think it succeeded at it. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right.
And Leslie Vernon is going for it's like a beautiful, loving tribute of slasher films, and I love slasher films, so that speaks to me. And I think it did a brilliant job at it, and that's why I put it above this film. Like it's
Okay.
it's what it is. Like that's how I feel when I watch films.
Sure. Okay.
That's where I'm coming from.
Fair.
Anyway, so where Pragpro, would you recommend I Saw the Devil? And what would you
Yeah,
rate it?
absolutely. I think if you love action movies, if you love thrillers, if you like, if you haven't really tried anything from Asia as far as, language, if it's a good movie to start with. Yeah, I definitely recommend this film. We saw it with Dark BMXers, and Dr. Yasmin watched it with me for the second time I watched it, and they thought it was great. As far as I can tell, they loved it. Nobody mentioned anything about the plot. I think they were just like wrapped up in the action of it. Maybe upon reflection, they would say the same thing. I don't know. I have to ask them.
Yeah,
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I give it like a 83
nice.
out
Yeah,
of
that's a
100.
good score. Yeah. Time. Would you recommend I Saw the Devil? What would you rate it?
Yes, I would recommend it. I'd rate it probably like a 72.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. I would recommend this film as well. I'd say if you really, I'd recommend it to anyone because I think it's a good testament to just like craft. Like if you,
Right.
I mean, if you want to see some incredible lighting, like this is the film to watch. The way they shoot snow in this film is gorgeous.
Yeah.
There's a
They
scene.
chose winter.
Yeah, there's a shot where like his face is cast in blue and orange, and it's like at the end, it's fantastic. I think if you love John Wick films, I think you're going to get a lot out of this.
Yeah.
According to the algorithm at Amazon, I don't know what that means, but maybe.
John Wick with knives.
I mean, action shit is some people don't care about anything but just the visual, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but some people just don't even operate on another level and say, what is the metaphor? What is, they're just like, oh, cool action.
Yeah,
which is fine too. People can come as they are to
two things.
Art, and
two
I
things
think
before
they
we
should.
end.
I think it's a really interesting film. It takes a good twist, and I'd probably I'm sitting at a 65. I think, but I think it's really solid. It's a really good investigation film. It's a really good revenge thriller. I've seen better ones. Like I'd recommend Revenge by Carly Fargette, who has a new film out called The Substance, and The Nightingale, which is probably my favorite revenge thriller of all time.
I have to see those. Send me a link. Why don't we put some of those links in the Discord later so
I'd
people
love to,
can check those
I saw
out?
a video popped up on my feed today about The Substance.
Yeah. So her first film, Carly Fargette, she's a French director. She made a film called Revenge, which is another revenge thriller, and I think that film is fucking fantastic.
Okay,
and I'm really excited for The Substance. So, yeah,
nice.
What are we watching next week?
Whose turn is it?
It's Titanic. We're watching Titanic with
Oh
Darth
God, I forgot. Part of my brain is protecting me from that information, and so I keep forgetting it.
I'm going all from memory, and I haven't seen that movie in 15 years.
Yeah, I saw it 2 years ago.
Is it like 4 hours long?
I don't know.
It's 3 hours long. But
so I'll just break it into sections.
I think I'm going to have a lot to say about that film, and I think some people might be upset. But maybe I'll enjoy it a lot more the second time I watch it. We'll see what happens.
No, make people upset. I'm probably going to make people upset too, but that's just the way life is. It's good. Otherwise, we're just
bring up quick.
Listen, if we all sit around and agree, it's not a show, so it's great.
I think
Please, Time, go ahead.
I think,
that's all good, buddy.
The ending to this movie was crazy with the fucking guillotine and controlling and his fucking kids opening the thing. Yeah. That was crazy.
That was one of the best parts of the thing. And the family showing up, I thought that was fantastic. Like really good.
And also too,
it's cool.
Have you guys seen Squid Games?
Yeah. I started watching. I haven't seen it all though.
Okay, well, there's a guy that wears a mask, the front man.
Right.
That's the secret agent guy in this movie.
Same guy.
Oh,
yeah,
it is him.
Just older, but
that makes sense. The way he moves, he moves like a jungle cat. I love the way he
looking up his stuff and I was like,
up the wall.
Same guy.
Bro, when he's in that house where the other serial killers and he's like scooting up the wall.
Yeah.
He throws the tacks on the ground, spikes, and the guy steps on the spikes barefoot.
That's Home Alone. That's Home Alone right there.
That's straight up Home Alone comedy. Once again, more slapstick comedy.
Shit.
Yeah, but it's a moment of levity.
He got us. Nope, he got us.
And it plays that scene for laughs. It did not play the head scene for
Dude,
laughs.
Anyway. Gritty.
I'm going to write a book about the comedy of I Saw the Devil. Maybe we'll make a sequel and we'll just make it a straight up comedy.
Anyway, and also Squid Game Season 2 comes out, so we should talk about the first season.
Yeah, people talk about that.
Yeah,
we should when do we want to do the TV show reviews? Because I'm good on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm open.
I'm getting a new job very soon, so I'm finding out what my hours are going to be.
All right.
But until then, I can do it any day, basically.
Yeah, I just have to finish 3 more episodes of Fallout, I think. So that one's good. And then you were talking about the Vince McMahon. How many episodes is that?
Yeah, you guys can do that one.
Like 6 or 7.
I think I'm gonna skip that.
6 or 7.
I think so. Yeah.
And they're all available now.
I think so. Yeah, I think they're all available.
How far are you into it?
I haven't started yet.
Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we do? I finished the last 3 or 4 episodes of Fallout, and then we try to do it on
Tuesdays and
Thursday, or maybe this Thursday. Well, I'll try to get it done by this Thursday.
Okay.
I thought,
and we can get a guest if you want. If JC can't make it, what time is good for you though?
Brave the Cinema.
Brave the Cinema. That's something you and Time can do because there's no way I can make it downtown.
Yeah,
and
so next,
do all that shit.
11th or whatever.
That's a whole day.
Yeah, the 11th.
The 11th
is that Friday?
At 7 or 8 a.m. Yeah, it'd be Friday for me. Yeah.
Every Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you guys want to pull a guest for that, or somebody, even somebody who doesn't stream, or just somebody who wants to come on, figure it, find somebody.
The not
I had an idea for a guy that I went to film school with, but he's in the eastern states, so it's got to be very late. But we could probably do it
make
earlier.
the time work. Yeah, figure out a time.
But then Time would have to wake up early, so it's
the last time we did it was 7 in the morning for me, but that's on a Friday, so I'm coming off a day off, or I'm coming off a day. Yeah. So the last time we did was
it's 11 p.m. for me. It'll be 2 a.m. It'll be 2 a.m. for
so
him.
If you need me to do it earlier, I can wake up earlier and I'll just go back to sleep. Whatever.
Would you do that?
Yeah, I just need to know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you need to wake up 5 in the morning, I'll do it, and then I'll be groggy, but I'll do it, and then I'll be like, all right, I'm going to bed.
I'm glad. Okay. I'll reach out to him and see if he wants to do it. I think he'd be interested.
We can do Fallout with
he listens to the show.
Oh, does it? Okay. We can do Fallout with Dark, since you said he watched it.
Oh, good.
If Dark wants to do it with us,
we can all do it.
Or somebody, anybody who wants to do it, I'm down. So we'll try to shoot for this Thursday, and I don't know, we'll figure out the times at that time. Whatever was good for you guys, I'll just be there. Just tell me what time it's at on Thursday, and I'll be there. How about that?
So, audience, look forward to Joker Folia Doe review coming soon. And next week we'll be doing Titanic and Fallout. It seems like Fallout as well. And
then Touchdown in Yapping. Touchdown in Yapping.
Thanks for everyone to watching this episode. I've had a great time talking about I Saw the Devil. I'm really happy that we had different viewpoints, Prag.
And now we're gonna play Texas Chainsaw as brothers because that's what we are.
I'm going to take a shower first, but
Are we gonna stream that? We're gonna stream Texas.
Are you going to play it, Time?
I have to go to bed. I got to work tomorrow.
Okay. All right. All good.
See.
Maybe Taz. What about Taz?
See if Taz
Or somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, I'll see you later, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
I love you, Jitney. Bye. Done.